and welcome back to the ALEX and Ava Podcast. Today, we're diving into something universaler evening routines. Ava, why do you think discussing evening habits is especially useful for language learners?
Great question, Alex. Talking about daily routines helps learners master common verbs and time phrases they'll use every day. It's practical vocabulary much more memorable than random word lists.
Absolutely. Plus, routines are a great starting point because everyone has one, even if they differ. This makes it easier to personalize your learning and practice speaking about your own life.
Exactly. And by focusing on evenings, we cover a range of activities from arriving home to bedtime, allowing learners to build confidence in describing sequential actions in English.
Let's start at the beginning, arriving home. Ava, what's the first thing you do when you get home and how do you describe it in English?
When I arrive, I usually say, I just got home. Then, I take off my shoes and wash my hands. These are simple but essential phrases for describing what happens right after entering the house.
Right. And notice how Justin just got home emphasizes that it happened a short moment ago. This subtle use of time words helps learners sound more natural.
Exactly, Alex. Plus, these expressions are polite. In many cultures, removing shoes keeps the house clean, and washing hands shows good hygiene, which became especially important during the pandemic.
After settling in, many people check their phones or grab a snack. Why do these activities matter in daily English conversations, Ava?
Well, check my phone for messages and have a quick snack are phrases used globally. They're relatable and help learners practice using verbs like check and have in real contexts.
And these actions often signal a shift from work or study mode to personal time. This transition is a great moment for learners to use sequencing words like after that or then to connect events.
Exactly. Using connectors makes your English flow better. For example, you might say, after I wash my hands, I have a quick snack. This structure is clear and natural.
Now, let's move into the kitchen. Dinner is an essential part of the evening. Ava, how can learners talk about preparing and eating dinner in English?
Start with simple past tense verbs. I made rice, I cooked vegetables, or I had noodles. Using made and had shows you can talk about what you did, not just what you do.
And when discussing preferences, phrases like it depends or sometimes I make are helpful. They allow for flexibility and show you can handle different situations in conversation.
That's right. You can also add detail with simultaneous actions. I eat while watching YouTube. The while construction is vital for expressing multitasking, which is common in the evening.
Speaking of multitasking, many people combine dinner with other activities like watching shows or listening to music. How does this reflect in the English we use, Ava?
It's all about while and as. For example, I listen to music while I eat. This structure helps learners explain overlapping actions. It also mirrors real life, where we rarely do one thing at a time.
Good point. Studies show that over 60% of people watch TV or use their phone during meals. Learning to describe these habits helps learners connect conversations to modern life.
Exactly. It also opens up space for cultural comparisons, like how some cultures discourage screens at the table. This can make for interesting discussions in language classes.
After eating comes cleaning up. How do we describe these chores in everyday English, and why is this vocabulary important?
Phrases like wash the dishes or clean the kitchen are essential because everyone does them. They also introduce learners to routine verbs and help practice after or then for sequencing.
And chores aren't limited to dishes. You might say, I tidy up the living room or I take out the trash. Learning these phrases prepares you for conversations about household responsibilities.
Exactly. Plus, chores are a great topic for practicing frequency words like usually, sometimes, or every day. For example, I usually wash the dishes right after dinner.
Once chores are done, people often unwind or study. Ava, how can learners describe their evening activities clearly?
You can use phrases like, I read a book, I watch a movie, or I do my homework. It's helpful to add details. I study for a little while, or I scroll on my phone. This paints a fuller picture.
And don't forget using time markers after dinner or before bed. These help organize your story and make your routine easier for listeners to follow.
Definitely. And discussing personal time not only builds vocabulary, but also invites cultural exchange. For example, what people do to relax might differ around the world.
Moving toward bedtime, let's talk about personal care. How do we express these steps in English, and why do they matter in language learning?
Common phrases include take a shower, put on my pajamas, and brush my teeth. These are daily actions, so learners will use them often. They also introduce reflexive routines in English.
It's interesting how these routines can be both practical and comforting. For many, taking a shower at night signals it's time to wind down, which is a useful cultural note for learners.
Exactly, and describing these steps in order: first, I take a shower. Then, I brush my teeth helps learners practice sequencing words and clear narration.
Let's wrap up the evening with bedtime routines. Ava, what vocabulary should learners focus on when talking about going to bed?
Key phrases include go to bed, fall asleep, stay up late, and set my alarm. These help describe not just actions, but also sleep habits, which are a common conversation topic.
And setting an alarm introduces modal verbs. I have to wake up at 6:30 a.m. or I need to set my alarm. This adds variety to simple past and present sentences.
Exactly. Discussing sleep routines can lead to talking about morning habits, setting up future conversations. It's a natural transition in both daily life and language learning.
Before we finish, let's give listeners some strategies for practicing their evening routine vocabulary. Ava, what's your top tip for effective speaking practice?
I recommend repeating phrases out loud, but also personalizing them. Instead of I make dinner, try I usually make pasta after work. This makes practice more meaningful and memorable.
That's a great point. Another idea is to record yourself or practice with a friend. Using connectors like then, after that, and finally helps your speech sound fluid and organized.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to add details or try new verbs. The more you personalize your routine, the more confident you'll become in real conversations.
Let's review what we covered today. We walked through a full evening routine, broke down useful phrases, and shared tips for practicing. Ava, any final encouragement for our listeners?
Just remember, consistency is key. Even 5 minutes of practice each evening can make a big difference. Try describing your own routine in English tonight, even if it's just to yourself.
Great advice. And don't forget to connect with other learners. Sharing your routine is a great conversation starter. Keep practicing, and soon these phrases will become second nature.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you feel more confident talking about your evenings in English. See you next time for more real-life English.